If a bank alert on your lock screen makes your stomach drop, that reaction is your body admitting something you've been avoiding. You probably tell yourself it's just stress. That it's been a long week. That everyone feels this way sometimes. But your body doesn't react like that to stress alone. That drop in your stomach is what happens when ignoring the numbers finally stops working. When avoidance stops protecting you. And starts costing you. This isn't about the alert. It's about the moment your nervous system realizes you don't trust your current strategy anymore. You probably look fine from the outside. You show up. You pay what needs to be paid. You handle what's in front of you. People see someone responsible. Someone functional. Someone who's doing what adults do. And that's exactly why no one questions you. Including you. You're the one who figures it out. The one who doesn't panic publicly. The one who absorbs pressure quietly and keeps going. That role feels solid. Earned. Almost protective. Until it stops protecting you. Because underneath that competence, there's another experience running in parallel. Quieter. Less visible. Much harder to explain. It shows up late at night. In the space between tasks. In the moment when everything is technically fine, but nothing feels settled. You don't feel irresponsible. You feel mentally exhausted from holding too much unfinished information in your head. And the more together you appear, the harder it becomes to admit that something isn't working anymore. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a crisis way. Just enough to keep your nervous system on edge. This is where avoidance changes form. It doesn't look like denial. It looks like maturity. It sounds like, I'll deal with it when I have more time. I just need to get through this phase. There's no point stressing about it right now. Those sentences sound reasonable. Adult. Measured. But something more subtle is happening. You're not avoiding because you don't care. You're avoiding because caring requires decisions, and decisions feel heavier than postponement. So you postpone. At first, postponement feels strategic. Temporary. Smart. But over time, it stops being a tactic. It becomes an identity. You become someone who manages pressure by absorbing it. Someone who stays functional by staying vague. Someone who keeps things moving by never stopping long enough to decide. From the outside, that looks like strength. From the inside, it feels like a constant low-grade alert. Not panic. Not fear. Tension. A tension that leaks into conversations. Into weekends. Into moments that are supposed to feel calm but never fully are. This is why the alert hits so hard. Not because you didn't expect it. But because it cuts straight through the identity you've been maintaining. The adult who has it together isn't supposed to feel that drop. Isn't supposed to react before thinking. Isn't supposed to feel exposed by a number. And when that reaction happens anyway, something breaks. Not loudly. Quietly. A crack forms between who you believe you are and what your body is experiencing. Your mind moves fast to seal that crack. It's just a rough patch. Everyone's stressed right now. This doesn't mean anything. But cracks don't need interpretation to matter. They just need pressure. And you've been under pressure for a long time. Not explosive pressure. Sustained pressure. The kind that doesn't shatter things. It erodes them. This is the hidden cost of being the adult who always manages. You get very good at carrying uncertainty without resolving it. At living with open loops. At postponing clarity because clarity would require a pause. And pauses feel dangerous when your identity depends on momentum. So you keep moving. Not forward. just moving. And the longer you live like that, the more your body takes over the job your mind keeps delaying. It tightens. It alerts. It reacts. Not to scare you. To inform you. Because the adult who has it together is often the last one to admit that the strategy holding everything up is quietly failing. And if you don't confront that now, something else eventually will. That's not a warning. It's a pattern. Recognizing the pattern doesn't solve it yet. But it removes the illusion that nothing is happening. And once that illusion breaks, the next step becomes unavoidable. There's a reason you keep postponing. Not because you're irresponsible. Not because you're careless. And not because you don't understand what's happening. You postpone because avoidance feels safer than making the wrong move. Your brain is built for one primary function, preventing loss. And right now, every real decision feels like a potential loss. If you decide and it goes wrong, you're responsible. If you decide and it doesn't work, the illusion collapses. If you decide, you lose the ability to tell yourself you just haven't looked yet. Avoidance keeps the door open. As long as you don't decide, nothing is final. Nothing is confirmed. Nothing can officially fail. That's the comfort. Failure feels definitive. Avoidance feels reversible. So your mind reframes postponement as intelligence. Let me gather more information. Let me wait for a better moment. Let me think this through a bit more. On the surface, that sounds wise. But underneath it, something else is happening. You're not waiting for clarity. You're waiting for certainty. And certainty doesn't exist. So waiting becomes endless. This is where avoidance turns addictive. Every time you delay, your nervous system gets a reward. The pressure drops. The discomfort quiets. The urgency fades. For a moment. Your body learns that not deciding brings relief. So it asks for more of it. And slowly, without you noticing, avoidance becomes regulation. Not a strategy. A habit. You don't avoid because you're afraid of numbers. You avoid because you're afraid of the emotional aftermath of a decision. What if you choose wrong? What if you confirm what you already suspect? What if looking clearly forces you to admit that something has to change? Avoidance shields you from that confrontation. But protection has a cost. Because while you're avoiding a possible failure in the future, you're guaranteeing a smaller one every day. A failure to feel grounded. A failure to feel settled. A failure to trust yourself. You live in a state of almost knowing. Enough awareness to feel tension. Not enough clarity to feel agency. And that limbo is exhausting. This is why doing nothing feels active. Why staying vague feels productive. Why keeping options open feels like control. But it isn't. It's containment. You're containing anxiety instead of resolving it. Containing uncertainty instead of reducing it. Containing pressure instead of releasing it. And containment always leaks. It leaks into your sleep. Into your focus. Into your patience. It leaks into that moment when the alert appears and your body reacts before you can think. Because your body already knows what your mind keeps postponing, avoidance doesn't eliminate risk. It concentrates it. The longer you avoid, the heavier each future decision becomes. The thinner your margin gets. The louder your nervous system has to speak. This is the trade you've been making without naming it. Short-term relief for long-term instability. And once you see that clearly, avoidance loses its disguise. Not all its comfort. But enough. Enough to make the next realization unavoidable. Because if avoidance feels safe, it's only because you haven't fully counted what it's already costing you. And that's what comes next. Avoidance doesn't usually blow up your life. That's why it's dangerous. It doesn't arrive as a crisis. It arrives as erosion. Small. Daily. Easy to dismiss. Nothing dramatic happens. You keep working. You keep paying. You keep functioning. From the outside, everything looks stable. But internally, something else is being spent. Not money. Capacity. Your ability to focus without tension. Your ability to rest without guilt. Your ability to be fully present without your mind running calculations in the background. This is the cost no one warns you about. Avoidance doesn't just delay decisions. It quietly taxes your attention. You wake up already slightly behind. Not late. Just mentally crowded. You sit down to relax, but part of your mind stays alert. Scanning. Tracking. Waiting. You're not resting. You're suspending yourself under tension. That tension shows up in ways that are easy to normalize. You reread the same paragraph and don't absorb it. You open your phone and forget why you picked it up. You feel irritation at small interruptions, even though nothing is actually wrong. Your energy isn't being drained by action. It's being drained by unresolved loops. Open questions your mind keeps circling. Decisions you keep postponing. Numbers you half know but refuse to fully confirm. Each one feels minor. Together, they create a background noise that never turns off. This is why avoidance feels exhausting even when your schedule isn't full. Your brain is constantly holding unfinished business. And unfinished business doesn't stay contained. It follows you. Into conversations where you're listening but not fully there. Into weekends where you're free but not relaxed. Into moments that should feel light, but don't. You might tell yourself you're just tired. But rest doesn't fix this kind of fatigue. Because it isn't physical. It's cognitive. Your mind is working overtime to protect you from clarity. And that work never clocks out. This is the quiet cost. Not panic. Not collapse. Just a steady leak of mental energy. Over time, that leak changes more than your mood. It changes how you choose. You start choosing the familiar over the effective. The immediate over the intentional. The comfortable over the clear. Not because you want to. Because you're depleted. When capacity is low, everything feels heavier. Simple decisions feel risky. Small choices feel consequential. So you delay again. And the loop tightens. Avoidance drains capacity. Low capacity increases avoidance. That's the cycle most people never name. And because it's quiet, they blame themselves instead of the system they're running. They think they need more discipline. More motivation. More willpower. But the problem isn't effort. It's leakage. You've been spending attention, energy, and mental space just to keep things vague. That's not neutral. It's expensive. And the longer it continues, the more your life becomes about maintenance instead of direction. You're not moving towards something. You're maintaining distance from discomfort. That's why the alert feels like an interruption. It cuts straight through maintenance mode. It forces your system to acknowledge what it's been quietly funding for a long time. Avoidance didn't just protect you from a hard moment. It's been charging you every day. And once you see that cost clearly, continuing the same way stops being an option you can pretend not to choose. That's where we go next. What makes this situation dangerous isn't the alert itself. It's the quiet habit you've been using to avoid dealing with what it represents. A habit that feels responsible. And costs more than you realize. In the next video, we'll look at the one sentence that keeps this entire system running, and why it's the real reason you feel mentally exhausted.